You're studying at Villanova.
Yes, I am.
And suddenly you learn that the Pope went to school at Villanova.
Yeah.
And when he stood up there and talked about building bridges with the world in this moment when there's so much conflict, what did that mean to you?
You know, that just meant the world. Just to have him, someone who has that such stronger connection to me as a Villanova alumni, being able to hear him say those words definitely hit my heart directly. So it's really a touching moment for me.
Their mother, optimistic after what she heard on that balcony.
Kindness is key. So I think everyone just needs to be kind to each other. It means a lot. And if they keep pressing it, it's going to happen. You got to be hopeful. You got to believe.
Hopeful for the American Pope. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The hope from so many Americans right here in Rome. And as I mentioned, for the first time, we're hearing tonight from the cardinals who were in the conclave what it was about that cardinal from Chicago who would reach that 2/3 majority and become Pope. And tonight back in the U.S., the celebrations for the boy who friends and family knew had a special connection to God growing up. Terry Moran, who is from Chicago, right here at the Vatican again tonight.
Tonight, this native son of Chicago is now the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. Known to his brothers as Rob, to his friends as Bob, Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, still plays Wordle and Words with Friends with his brothers. He grew up here on East 141st Street in Dolton, Illinois, just across the line from Chicago's South Side. And he attended Mass at St. Mary's of the Assumption. The youngest of 3 boys, raised in a Catholic family, the future pope seemed to be destined from a remarkably early age for a religious life. His brother John.
I think from the time he was 5 or 6 years old, he knew this was his fate. Not that he would be a pope, that he would be a priest.
As a boy, his brothers tell us, while they were playing cops and robbers, their little brother played priest, holding Mass using his mother's ironing board as an altar and Necco wafers for communion. He attended college at Villanova University in Pennsylvania, was ordained a priest in 1982, joining the Order of St. Augustine. 3 years later, he became a missionary in Peru, working in poor, remote areas for 2 decades, eventually becoming a Peruvian citizen. After holding several posts in Rome, the future pope was made a cardinal by Pope Francis just 2 years ago in 2023. This week, inside the conclave, the other American cardinals say that Prevost didn't advocate for himself in any big speech, but joined the conversations in small groups.
A lot of dialogue occurred at mealtime, coffee break, those moments when you can engage one another.
And then, on the second day of the conclave, when it was clear how the votes were going in the Sistine Chapel, he seemed anguished, says his friend Cardinal Joseph Tobin, who calls him Bob.
Then I walked back and I took a look at Bob, and because his name had been floating around, and he had his head in his hands.
When he crossed the 89-vote threshold to be elected, a wave of applause rang through the Sistine Chapel, and when he accepted election, the anguish was gone.
And then when he accepted it, it was like he was made for it.
The new pope needed to choose a name. Chicago's Cardinal Blaise Cupich telling me about that moment.
And he was asked, okay, what name do you take? And they said Leo. And again, another applause, because that was a stunner too. People were thinking, oh, Francis II, Paul or John or somebody else, but Leo. We knew we had something new here.
In Chicago, they're bursting with pride. The Chicago Sun-Times dubbing Leo the Pope.
De Pope. We loved seeing that today. Terry Moran back with us here at the Vatican. Really something, Terry, to listen to these cardinals who were inside the conclave and to hear about him putting his head in his hands, sensing the weight of the role that was soon coming.
It is an awesome responsibility, David, but the conclave acted so quickly, clearly because the cardinals believed he is ready, if anyone can be. Cardinal Tobin specifically praising Pope Leo's decisiveness, saying, quote, he listens and then he acts. It's a lot of courage, unquote. David?
It's an extraordinary story. Terry Moran tonight. Terry, thank you. And Pope Leo may be from the south side of Chicago, but his work with the church took him to Rome and to Peru for so many years. And from the balcony right here behind me, he promised to push for unity and to build bridges. So tonight, James Longman with the faithful, Americans and people from all over the world who hope Pope Leo can unite.
Pope Leo sent some important messages at his first Mass as Pope, showing the world he knows how to walk delicate divides. Soon after we heard Leo had made history, we bumped into Cardinal Bo, the Archbishop of Yangon.
Are you excited to have the first American Pope?
Yes, good, so that you can
build a bridge.
Build the bridge and fight with Trump.
Fight with Trump.
Or can have a conversation, dialogue with Trump.
A dialogue now in many languages.
An American Pope now, my joy is that, at least for the first time, we have a Pope who is fluent in English and Spanish.
But as Leo says he wants to build bridges, war continues to rage. From Israel and Gaza, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and a dangerous confrontation between India and Pakistan breaking out during conclave. This American Pope faces a global challenge.
And David, there is a sense that the divisions in the United States are making this American Pope better able to deal with the divisions in the wider world. David?
James Longman back with us as well. James, thank you. And coming up just a short time from now, the entire team is here for an ABC News special. The American Pope Leo XIV, the special edition of 2020, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, right here on ABC, and it's a fascinating story. In the meantime, we turn to the other major news this Friday night into another major blackout at Newark Airport. Air traffic controllers watching as their radar screens went dark for nearly 90 seconds again, losing contact with passenger planes. Here's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, another terrifying failure at Newark Airport. Air traffic control radar screens going black at Newark for about 90 seconds just before 4 a.m. this morning.
Our scopes just went black again.
Controllers warning an incoming jet that they might not be able to communicate if the radars and radios fail again.
Russia 651, we just had another brief radar outage, so just in case that happens again, for your purposes, if you can't reach me, just stay at or above 3,000 until you're passing Morristown, and then you can just clear for the approach from there.
This happened in the middle of the night when there were very few airplanes. Someday it's going to happen where there's lots of bad weather and you'll have airplanes flying blind.
It's the third radar outage at Newark in less than 2 weeks, and it's led to thousands of delays and cancellations. And David, the White House said today they hope to have a quick fix by the end of the summer, but that, of course, is months from now. And then, of course, you have this weather in the Northeast. If that outage had happened during this weather, this could have been much worse. David?
Really is extraordinary. Gio Benitez tonight. Gio, thank you. Next tonight here, President Trump signaling he is open to lowering his steep tariffs on China, suggesting now that they could be lowered from 145% to 80% on imports of Chinese goods, but only if China, he says, makes concessions first. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent arriving in Geneva, Switzerland for the first face-to-face trade talks with China. But the president tonight saying he won't be disappointed if he doesn't come back with a deal. We do have a passing to note tonight. Former Supreme Court Justice David Souter is being remembered, appointed by former President George H.W. Bush, dying at his New Hampshire home on Thursday. His 19 years on the high court surprising conservative Republicans at times as he sided with liberal justices on issues including Roe versus Wade and the Bush versus Gore 2000 presidential election fight. Justice David Souter was 89. When we come back here tonight, we're tracking storms hitting just as the weekend starts. The flood watch in the Northeast, heavy rain for Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York. We're tracking it. And tonight, the Soviet-era spacecraft launched back in 1972. Tonight, it's hurtling toward Earth and what they're now saying about where it could go. Tonight, we're tracking heavy rain across the Northeast. More than 15 million Americans from Hartford, Connecticut up to Maine on alert for possible flooding. Strong thunderstorms with more than a half-foot of rain and possible flooding for the Southeast right into early next week. When we come back on this Friday night, that Soviet-era spacecraft launched in 1972 tonight hurtling toward Earth.